Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing a video talking to you about a training device that I've been using for quite a while now, and this video is a little bit overdue, but it's something that I think will help pretty much anyone out there. We're going to be talking about the Blackbeard system from Mantis X. Now, you guys are probably familiar, if you've been following the channel, of the Mantis X10 system that I did a review on. It was like last year or the year before. But it's basically a training device for really any type of firearm that allows you to measure your trigger pull before, during, after. It's able to track split times, it's able to do shot timers, track your motion, check efficiency, etc., etc. Well, all that is awesome, but this is something that is going to, I think, augment it. And in fact, they have a newer version that kind of combines the two. But today we're going to be focusing on the standard Blackbeard here. Basically, this is a system that drops into any AR-15 or even any similar type firearm that allows you to get reps with dry practice without having to reset the trigger every single time, and also allows you to visualize where your rounds would be going. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just swap this thing over to the Blackbeard system, show you how simple and straightforward that is, and then we'll talk about what this system actually does. Now, it's important to note, in the interest of full disclosure, that I did not pay for this Blackbeard system. This was provided at no cost from Mantis to be able to do the review on it. So do with that information what you will, but let's keep moving. So it's really as simple as doing a quick field strip on your rifle. So I can just pull out my bolt carrier group, set that in here, pull out my charging handle, set that in here. I don't have to go through and clean this thing beforehand, but I'm just going to take the laser module. It's going to drop in and replace the bolt carrier group and charging handle all together as one. Close the upper receiver, and really that's about it, because then the only extra step is inserting our battery pack, which is going to take the place of our magazine. Now, you might have just heard there that the connection was made, which cycled the little servo, which resets your hammer. And basically this is going to allow me to continue to pull the trigger as quickly and as often as I want, and it's going to project a laser out. Now, obviously, anytime we're putting a system like this into a gun, especially if we're going from one gun to another, there's going to be a zeroing process that has to take place. So let me demonstrate that real quick, because this does allow you to manually adjust it to the firearm that you're putting it in. So just to free up my hands here, I've got my rifle mounted in a tripod just so that I can demonstrate getting this thing zeroed in. Now, I'm also going to show you the target that I'm looking at. Now, we're in my house because this is something that you can very, very easily and safely do in your home. And I've got two little pasties on that target that you can see. And the reason for that is I also want to be able to account for things like height over bore, because the mechanical offset of where my bore is versus where my optic is going to create a mechanical offset. The distance that I'm going to be doing, literally just across my living room here, we're talking maybe 5 yards, really probably closer to like 3 or 4 yards. And so I'm going to have a 2-inch offset. So I've set those two little pasties 2 inches apart. There's a little zeroing option in here on the bolt. I'm going to push that down, which is going to just project a laser out constantly instead of just when I pull the trigger. And I've already got my optic aimed in at the center of that top dot, so you can see that my laser is not very far off. I've got two little adjustment screw holes here, which are going to allow me to adjust for windage and elevation. You can see I'm actually pretty close. Again, I'm centered on the top dot, so that means I want to center my laser on the bottom dot. So I can, oops, wrong way there, drift this windage a little bit to the right, elevation a little bit up, like that. And now, with my optic centered on the top dot, the laser centered on the bottom dot, I am now set up for a 2-inch offset at this distance, which would theoretically be 2.5 at the muzzle, and that is just going to meet as I get further out. If I had a longer distance, I could actually zero the laser at where I have my optic zeroed, but inside my house I don't have that opportunity. But now that the laser is effectively where I want it, I'm just going to set it back to where it's only going to project out when I pull the trigger, and therefore turn the laser off downrange. So obviously there's a lot of things that I can do with a laser unit like this when it comes to dry practice. I'm just going to demonstrate first here just some quick, basically ready up drills. And now one neat thing with this is, especially if you're using this with the Blackbeard, or excuse me, the Mantis X10, or if you get the Blackbeard X, which has that built into it, I can actually be using the app to track my first shot times, my split times, etc., etc. However, even if you don't have any of those things, I can use just a free shot timer app on my phone, as I knock down my little adjustment screw there, and use that. And now it's not going to pick up gunshots, but I can set it for part time. So let's say I want my first shot on target to be a second, which is relatively slow from the low ready position. We can do that. So I'm just going to do that a couple times here. So I'm going to hit start here. I'm going to get ready. And now you can see that I can audibly tell whether or not I was able to do it under that part time. Now again, if I'm using the Blackbeard system, or I keep saying that, the Mantis X10 or the Blackbeard X, I can actually get my exact time down and measure it each time. Let's just do that a couple more times here. Now that was a little bit faster for me. The shot was a little bit off to the right, but we're still nice and in the A zone. Do this a couple more times. And the other thing that this is allowing me to do is get good safety manipulation in and get really fast and easy sight pictures, while still making sure that I actually know where that round would go if I was shooting live fire. Now, the beautiful thing here is I don't have to run that charging handle in between each time, because the unit resets the trigger for itself. So I can sit here and do quick double taps in here if I wanted to. Let's just do that with a timer. See if I can do 2 shots in under a second. And again, very, very easy to do that. They say that this thing can reset up to 10 cycles per second, which is 0.1 split times. And if you're outrunning a 0.1 split time, that's pretty dang impressive. But even just from a training perspective, one benefit of this is there is no question as to what condition this firearm is in when I have the Blackbeard system installed. I've got this giant red thing in my ejection port, and I've got this magazine in the gun. I know that this thing is absolutely safe, and it's also very readily apparent to everyone around me that this thing is also very safe. So I'm not having to worry about, hey, what condition is that guy's gun in? What condition is my gun in? Do they know what condition my gun is in? Everyone is on the same page with this system. And in fact, if you watch the Garand video where they were talking about doing room clearing, they were using this Blackbeard system as well. They didn't really explicitly talk about it, but you could tell that's what they were using. Now, just for grins and giggles, I'm just gonna see, I've got a Rise Armament RA535 trigger in here. This is a very, very fast trigger. I'm just gonna do a real quick test, see if I can actually outrun this thing. But again, theoretically with 10 cycles per second, that should be easily doable. Yeah, so I wasn't able to outrun it. Now, as the battery drains, it is possible that the servo is going to slow down a little bit, but nonetheless, I think they advertise it's something in the tens of thousands of cycles on a battery, so you can train all day long with this thing and still have a lot of benefit. Now, going back to what I was referencing with the Garand video where they were using one of these, one of the other main benefits is, let's say I'm doing CQB training with my buddies or something like that. If we have these units in here, I can have that laser turned on, and that means that I know now if I'm ever going to be flagging a buddy. So whether or not I'm actually pulling the trigger, which I can still do with that laser turned on, I can tell if when I'm coming through a room, I can see, and everyone around me can see, where my muzzle's pointed, and if I'm flagging something that I don't want to be flagging, i.e. one of my buddies. And I'm sure they will appreciate me being very conscious of that and having a way to visually confirm what I'm actually doing with the muzzle of my rifle. Now, like I said, you can use the Blackbeard system in any AR-15, or at least anything that uses the AR-15 bolt profile. So that includes piston guns, my PWS guns, or when I had a PWS gun still, this system worked in that just fine. Also, it works in the CMMG Banshee systems. So like my wife's 9mm Banshee, it works in that. A 5.7 Banshee works in that. I can use this with a lot of different firearms, even if they're not chambered in 5.56. Obviously, again, 300 blackout, anything like that's going to work fine. Anything with the AR-15 bolt profile is going to work just fine. Now, if you guys saw the recent video I did with my AR-10, you saw me doing a bunch of bill drills, some Mozambique drills, and again, that's all things that I can be practicing in the comfort of my own home, doing dry practice without having to spend a single dollar on ammunition. And again, I can, even though I'm not actually putting rounds down range or putting actual holes in paper, because that laser is projecting every single time I pull the trigger, I know where that round would theoretically go. And especially if I account for that bore offset, this is going to allow me to do that as well. So if I wanted to do some Mozambique drills, I can do that and see whether or not those rounds are going to stay in the A zone like I want to. So for example, if I just decide to go up, that I could tell that headshot was a little bit low. So I didn't let my sights account for that offset quite enough on the head. Let's try that again. A little bit better. And so it's something I can very, very easily practice. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, well, you don't get the recoil, you don't get the noise or anything like that. Sure, that's absolutely fair. But what I do get is an opportunity to get through the muscle memory of these reps, having the conscious consideration for that bore offset, while again, not spending a single dime on ammo. And especially for someone like me, the range where I do most of my filming at is a 50-minute drive one way. So now I account for there and back, plus at a minimum an hour or two at the range. That's 4 or 5 hours that I can save if all I'm just trying to do are some quick just muscle memory reps, like doing bill drills, doing Mozambique drills. I can also practice clearing my house if I wanted to, which I have definitely done on nights where my wife isn't home, so that I'm not disturbing her with it. I can set up targets like the one I have across the living room here all throughout the house, and I can do a lot of practice that way by myself. We always talk in theory about, you know, how we're gonna clear our own house, or if someone there's a home intruder, you know, how to search and assess my home in a safe and efficient manner. But now I can actually do it and actually get reps where I can be pulling the trigger in a totally safe manner and still know where those rounds would go and how quickly I'm able to assess targets and engage them. And not only when I engage them, but where those rounds would go on that target. And again, just to reference that Garand thumb video, it also gives me an opportunity to train with friends of mine in the same type of CQB environment if I wanted to, or again, just getting dry reps at home, at work. Granted, I work at a gun store, but we had these things for sale, and we kept ourselves quite busy by just running reps with our guns. We have little targets set up all around the store that we were using to engage, and again, it's just a really fun activity. Like I said, with it taking at a minimum a 3 or 4 hour investment for me to get to the range, you know, it's really easy to find excuses, like for me today, to not actually go out to the range to do something. But if I get home from work, literally all it does is like a 15-20 second swap over from my regular bolt carrier group to this one. And then I can be doing dry reps at home, you know, in nice climate controlled environments for you fair weather shooters out there. And again, still be getting reps. And especially if you're pairing it with that Mantis 10X system, or X10 system, excuse me, or the Blackbeard X, which again has that system built into it, I'm getting a lot of good reps. Also, Mantis has, I'm getting all these words confused, but Mantis has their laser training academy, which you can use with this as well. For that, you're going to have their special targets. You're going to have your phone focused in on those targets, but you'll still get those same split time feedbacks. You'll still get ideas of like shot timers and speed on target, and you're going to get a lot of feedback without having to step outside. I know a lot of the people who watch my channel might be a little bit afraid to go outside, so this allows you to still train without having to go out into the scary world. So it's probably become readily apparent that I'm an enormous fan of the Mantis products, the Blackbeard being included in that, and it's for very good reason. I just think that this is an excellent opportunity to get training done in a safe manner that really allows you to practice valuable skills in the comfort of your own home. Again, you're not having to spend a dime on ammo or gas to get to the range or range fees or anything else, and you're getting very good feedback, whatever your application would be. If it's competitive shooting, defensive shooting, just wanting to be more prepared for something inside of your home, or if you want to be prepared with a group of like-minded individuals, no matter what, you can definitely find an application for the Blackbeard in your training. Really, it's only limited by your imagination, and there's a lot of feedback you can be getting, again, in the comfort of your own home. Now, the Blackbeard is not cheap. You're looking at about 220 bucks for one of these, at least retail price. So that, again, that's not cheap. But when you consider that just in one magazine's worth of battery charge, I have, again, tens of thousands of trigger pulls in the magazine that's included. It's going to pay for itself very, very quickly. And even if you can afford all the ammo you want, just the time that you're saving going to and from the range, just to be able to practice stuff like this in the comfort of your own home, it's just a really good opportunity. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and throw that in the comment section down below. Try to get back to you as quick as I can. I've been using this thing a ton with a ton of different guns, so hopefully I'll be able to answer whatever questions you guys have. If you're interested in checking out the Mantis products, specifically the Blackbeard or any of the other ones, definitely check out the links down below. Thankfully, because of what they sell, I can actually link directly to their website, and I don't get any sort of kickbacks for you doing so, for those of you who might be concerned about that. But anyway, with all that being said, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.